Hello, everybody. Welcome to 1000 Road Trips. Exciting episode today. We're going to be breaking down 5 must-see spots in Charleston, and with us is Eric Lavender. Hello, Eric.
How you doing? Good to see you.
It's good to see you, Eric. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in?
Sure.
Like, what
Yeah.
what makes you an expert in Charleston?
Well, I've lived in South Carolina 71 years, and I grew up in South Carolina. And I'm 71, like I said, and half of my life I've lived full time in Charleston. Now, my first trip to Fort Sumter, I think I was 6 years old.
Wow.
So I've been in and out of Charleston, off and on my life, all throughout my life. And I've been a licensed tour guide in Charleston for over 20 years.
So, Eric, let's get into it. What we're going to break down 5. If you want to throw a couple extras in at the end, we can do that. But
Sure.
so 5 must-see spots. What would be the first on your list?
Okay, well, let's start with me. My company is Charleston Pirate Tours. I have been digging up information, documents. I'll just show you something here. All of this back here, these are all books on pirate history. Some of these, like this big green 3-ring binder right there, that is nothing but primary documents.
Wow.
And I've got more than that. That's just one sample of them. This tour is based on what happened here. Now, there's a lot of people who would talk about pirate history, and they would be talking about somebody that was in the South China Sea. They didn't come here. I'm not interested in them. I have narrowed my focus down to what took place here and how they impacted Charleston. I cover what happened here, and our who's who of pirates that we had trouble with here is extensive. In fact, I can't even cover all of them on a 2-hour tour. I
Wow.
cover the main players. I cover Blackbeard. I cover Stede Bonnet, Charles Vane, Charles Yates, and some of the major players in the pirate history.
All right. So, Eric, that's number 1, which
Yeah.
sounds like it could take a 2-week trip in Charleston and still be coming back for more. This sounds great. What would be the second thing on your list?
Okay. The USS Yorktown at Patriots Point.
Okay.
Fantastic place to go. That ship, is such a great place to go. There are, you can go there, you can pick up tours, guided tours, self-guided tours, and you can find all kind of stuff on what to do. And the Yorktown is really one of my favorite places in town. And you can Google that. There are companies that offer, you can buy a ticket through them to go and have a guided tour with them. And so you can check that out. But the Yorktown, absolutely a must.
Got it. Love it. Okay. And what's number 3 on your list?
Okay. Take your pick of plantations. Charleston's plantations are just filled with wonderful history and visual and interactive things. And each one offers something special. If you're looking for some of the oldest gardens in America, you can go to Middleton or Magnolia. And each one has their own beautiful garden areas. And those are kind of timing. You need to time those. The best time to see the gardens, in my opinion, is in the early spring, because you're catching 2 things. Number one, you're going to catch the wisteria that drips from the trees growing. You're going to see the last bloom cycle of the camellias, and at the same time, the azaleas are coming into bloom. And then the dogwood trees, and it's incredible. Magnolia, in addition to that, also has the Audubon Swamp Garden. If you want to see a swamp, if you want to see alligators, that's where to go. And Middleton Place has one of the last standing flanker houses that dates all the way back to the earliest days of the plantation. They were actually 3 buildings, a left and right flanker in the main house, but they were destroyed, wartime, earthquake, but there's still one standing you can go through. So that plantation, if you want to see a very interactive experience when it comes to the Gullah and enslaved Africans, The plantation I would recommend for that one would be Boone Hall Plantation. They have original slave cabins, and each one of them has either an audio or an audio video presentation as you walk through these different cabins. And there's actually at the very far end, they have a little amphitheater set up. And there'll be a live presentation. They give it 3 times a day, unless they've changed it. They're 11:15, 1:15, and 3:15.
Got it.
It's one of the Gullah guides. Now Gullah came from the enslaved Africans, and they will give you the history of what happened with those Africans that worked those plantations. And it is some of the most informative stuff. And you just sit quietly and listen to them talk. Some of them bring in music that would have been sung in the fields.
Wow.
They give stories that they would share with each other while they're working in the fields. It's just an amazing presentation. The house itself is beautiful, but it was built in the 1930s. There's been I believe it was 3 building plantation houses on the property. This is the most recent one in the 1930s, but nonetheless, it's still a really nice house to look at and go through. They'll show you several rooms and tell you some of the history of the people that have owned that plantation over the year. I mean, for instance, when the Horlbach family had it, they were from Germany. They exported 1 million bricks a year from that plantation. A lot of the buildings downtown Charleston were built from brick that came from Boone Hall Plantation.
Huh.
So that is a really cool experience. Now, if you just want to see a plantation house that looks like the day the family moved out, then I would recommend going to Drayton Hall. Now, Drayton Hall has not been restored. It is preserved. And it's just like it was when they moved out. And it's a really neat experience because you can actually see one of the doorways. I've been through there several times. One of the doorways actually still has the carvings on the door frame as the kids grew up.
Oh my gosh.
It gives the dates on as the kids were growing up, going back to when the Drayton family lived in that house.
That's amazing.
And you can actually see that right in front of you when you go through that house. It is an incredible experience. It really and truly is. And here's the neat thing.
Yeah.
Now, Boone Hall is in Mount Pleasant. It's the closest one to downtown Charleston. Drayton, Middleton, and Magnolia are all within a 3 miles of each other.
All right.
On Ashley River Road. So you can literally see all 3 of those in one day if you really are very energetic.
Yeah. It's great. Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay, let's go on to number 4. What would be your next recommendation?
The next one's what I would say is sort of a toss-up, but if you can do them both, I would. The forts. Fort Sumter. 1861, the first shot from the Civil War was fired there. And the first shots, I should say, were fired from there. The first shot itself was at Fort Johnson, which does not exist anymore on James Island. But the history of that fort is tremendous, and you have to take a ferry to get out there. But the boat ride takes about 20-30 minutes to get out there, so you get a nice harbor cruise, and they're going to have different things happening on the boat going over. Sometimes they have recorded history about different things you're seeing while you're riding around out to the fort, and it's really an interesting place to visit. In fact, we're talking about those bricks a while ago. You can actually walk around that fort because the bricks on that fort were built from bricks from Boone Hall Plantation.
Wow. Okay.
And you will actually see bricks on that fort that have thumbprints in them from the slaves that made the bricks. That's how they check to see if they were set up. You can actually go around and find the thumbprints in some of those bricks.
Holy moly. Okay.
Yeah, it's really an incredible place to visit. Fort Moultrie is a little easier to get to. You can drive right up to it. It's on Sullivan's Island. And we mentioned a while ago about the British Navy being defeated on the 28th of June. That battle took place on the very first fort that sat on that property, but it was built out of the palm trees, which we call palmetto trees.
Oh.
It was built out of palm trees, and but of course that didn't last. But now it was a brick structure. The brick structure is there today that they built going into the early 1800s, and the brick structure was used. In fact, right after the War of 1812, a guy by the name of Edgar Perry was stationed at Fort Moultrie.
Mhm.
And he was quite a writer. He was a very interesting character. His real name was Edgar Allan Poe. And
Oh,
he was stationed there when he was in the Army for a year. And you can read about his little time he spent at the fort. But it was used all the way up through the Second World War.
huh. Wow.
And so, but you can drive right up to that. They've got a great visitor center that's got a little small museum, and you can sit down and watch a 20-minute video about the history of the fort going back to when it was palm trees all the way until they pulled the flag down, the American flag down for the last time when it was under the use of the United States Army.
Wow.
So those two forts I would recommend, and you can drive to Fort Moultrie. You can take a boat to Fort Sumter. Those are really must do's if you come to Charleston.
Love it. All right, and then round me out. What's number 5?
Number 5, it's a little bit of a drive, but it's fun. Drive out to Cypress Gardens.
Okay.
It is a Tupelo and cypress swamp, literally. And they filmed a great bunch of scenes from The Patriot out there, the movie The Patriot with Mel Gibson. Some of those battle scenes were out there. And you can take your little bateau, which is a small wooden boat, and just go out into the swamp and row yourself around. They have guides that will take you out. And while you're out there, depending on the time of year, this is a great time of year for it. While you're rolling along and going along in your little wooden boat, you might have an alligator cruising right beside you. So that's another one. It's a beautiful place. It really is. There's something very unique about a huge swamp like that. And it's just very picturesque and as peaceful as you can imagine.
Oh, wow.
Just kind of cruising through around the cypress trees, and when it's in full basin, the water's it's full, and it's just a great place to go. It really
that's
is.
great.
And there's lots and lots of wildlife out there besides alligators. I mean, there's no telling what you may see. You'll see yellow belly sliders, which are huge turtles resting on logs. You might see alligator snapping turtles. You might see snakes. And so, I mean, there's a lot of wildlife out there. And it is if you like nature, that's why I want to throw in at least one good natural place to go that has been undisturbed for thousands upon thousands of years.
I'd love it. All right. So, Eric, that's 5, but give me a few other that you might have put on your honorable mention list.
Sure, absolutely. There's another tour company in town that offers a tour of the old district jail as a ghost tour.
Oh.
That's a good one. I worked in that jail for many years, and it's a very haunted building. Just look up Charleston Jail Tour, you'll find them.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's see, another good one. Oh, there's some great museum homes downtown.
Okay.
Lots of museum homes. In fact, the one that I like is the Hayward Washington House. The Hayward Washington House is where George Washington slept when he came on his famous Southern tour and stopped in Charleston before his final stop, which was Savannah.
Okay.
And he was a guest of Thomas Hayward. Thomas Hayward was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, and he was his guest for there when he stayed for about a week. And so, that's a good one, a good museum home. I was trying to think of another fun one another good fun place. The Old Exchange Building. The Old Exchange Building, downtown Charleston, is the most historic building in South Carolina. It was completed and opened in 1771, and it was a commodities exchange building. There were open pavilions where literally tons of cargo were coming off ships. Mm-hmm. It was a waterfront property. Today, there's a parking lot behind it, and it's 2 blocks to the water. Back then, the water came up to the back of the building.
Yeah.
And all these ships were anchored there, hauling cargo into the building. Also, like I say, it's not the first building that sat there. The first building that sat there was originally called the guard house or watch house, or some people call it the court of guard. That was the building that preceded it, where they used to the governor's council would meet and where they held pirates. So before they would hang them. But the building itself, though, has so much history. In 1773, most people don't realize we had a tea party here before they had one in Boston.
Oh.
And they hid the tea under that building in the cellar and kept it there under lock and key until 1776. And they auctioned it off to raise money to buy weapons and gunpowder to fight the British.
Wow.
And and then, of course, when the British tried to take South Carolina the first time in 1776, they failed miserably because Moultrie and his men beat them in this palm tree fort. They came back in 1780. They eventually took over Charlestown, and as they called it back then, turned the building into a barracks and a military installation, and they turned a portion of the storage cellar into a jail that was known as the Provost Dungeon. And they kept different political prisoners down there before they would be moved on to other places. And they were here from 1780 and occupied that building till December of 1782. They took it in May of 1780 until December 1782. And then May 23rd, 1788, the United States Constitution was ratified in that building in the Great Hall upstairs. There's only a couple of three more buildings in the country standing today that can make that claim.
Yeah, yeah.
Between May the 2nd and May the 9th, when George Washington was here, he was entertained there off and on for a week. They had a reception for him when he came to town. They later had a formal dinner. They had a concert. They had a dance. He danced with several hundred ladies in Charleston and bragged about how beautiful the women in Charleston were. And, well, you know, he didn't bring Martha with him. But anyway, so it was it's a beautiful building on top of all of that. And so, and they've got a lot of special things going on right now with the coming of the 250th anniversary, of course. And there's a lot of different things and activities going on with that building because it is so important in South Carolina's history with the American Revolution.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm going to wrap up, Eric. Woof. A lot of really wonderful information. You are an incredible ambassador for Charleston. So, one, the Charleston Pirate Tours and the wealth of tours that Eric and his company offer that could take you through Charleston and nothing more, and you'd have a great time. Number two, we've got the USS Yorktown. Three are the various plantations that have different flavors to them, and all of them sound wonderful. Four is go check out some of the forts, either Sumter or Moultrie. Five is get your nature fix on with the Cypress Gardens, and then a couple of bonus ones with the old district jail, some of the museum homes downtown, top of that list being the Hayward Washington House, and then the incredibly historic Old Exchange building. Eric, that is a great list. It makes me want to come to Charleston tomorrow. It's just
jump on a plane or drive your car. Just come on over. We'd love to see you.
Love it. All right. Well, folks, thank you, Eric, so much. This has been amazing, and this has been 1,000 Road Trips. So get your butts to Charleston and check some of the stuff out. You will not regret it.
Thank you, brother. Hope to see you too. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.